In this video, let's create a geometry as you can see from my Rhino screen. So let's start with a new document and we would like to create a rectangle. So search rectangle, use this rectangle on a plane component. Actually, there's a rectangle on my screen, but because it's overlapped with the grid, it's very difficult to see. Let's change the size of the rectangle to 5 by 5. Now you can see the rectangle on my Rhino screen. Let's move this rectangle along z-axis. So this would make a copy of the rectangle. By default, it's moving along z-axis for 10 units. We can change the amount of movement along z-axis by plugging in unit z and set the factor to 1 to 10. Then we can adjust the factor as you wish. Now we made a copy along z-axis. Let's scale this rectangle. Scale. Plug the rectangle into geometry. The second factor is the center. The third is the factor. Let's do 0.1 to 1.5. Now I can scale this from 0.1 to 1.5 of the size. But what you're seeing is that a rectangle is scaled using the origin point as the base point of the scale. What if I want to scale on the plane where this rectangle resides? To do that, we can use the center of this rectangle as the point of rotation. Use an area component. So the area component has two outputs. One is the area of the geometry. The other one is the centroid of the geometry. We'll use the centroid of the rectangle as the rotation, as the scale base point. Now you can see that when I change the factor of the scale, it scales along the center of the rectangle. So since the original rectangle is a bit confusing, I'll hide this rectangle. Now, one last step is to rotate this rectangle. So let's do that. Rotate. So put geometry to geometry and angle from 0 to, let's say, 90 degrees. And we need to set the angle as degrees. Now this will rotate 0 to 90 degrees. But you notice that it's rotating along the origin point again. So we can set the plane to the centroid of the rectangle. Now, when you rotate the rectangle, it rotates about the center of the rectangle. Now I don't need this rectangle anymore. I'll hide this rectangle. Now I have this rectangle at the top. I have the original rectangle at the bottom. I can create a surface using these two curves. So the component to do that is called Loft. So use this Loft component. Now I'm going to plug in the both rectangle into this curve as the section. To plug in multiple components into one input, you can hold your shift key on your keyboard and you'll see there's a little plus sign, which meaning that you can put multiple parameters into one input. Now, this section curves accepts two inputs because I just hold shift and plug into that input. Now, this is the surface created from the two rectangles. Now, if I change the extrusion along z-axis, you can see that it goes up and down. And if I change the scale factor, you can see the upper rectangle becomes smaller and larger based on the scale. And I also can rotate the upper rectangle from 0 to 90 degrees.